everyone's always scheming for opportunities, right? But I feel like if you actually take the time to build a relationship and not expect anything, that's my biggest thing that has got me to where I am today. I haven't expected anything. And that's when you actually find the best opportunities will come because people feel that you are genuine. Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. Today's episode is really different from anything else that I talk about because, as you may know, this podcast is primarily business strategy for the beauty industry. And then I also do talk about the bowling alley here and there and the other experiences that I've had in the family businesses that we've run, the beauty pageant that I was a part of, and then also what's happening in my world and the coaching business side of things. But what I don't talk about as much is my life outside of that and the network that I have around me. Because even to this day, it still feels really surreal. Let me take you back to when I was doing Miss Universe. I was 19 years old and I had just had my uni degree cancelled and been diagnosed with scoliosis. I was running a beauty salon at the time, doing eyelash extensions, lash lifts, and a few other things. And I felt like my whole world was falling apart, but I looked successful outside because I was competing in Miss Universe, right? And did I enjoy it? Did I get much out of it? Would I do it again? Look, probably not. But it did open up one door for me that has completely changed the entire trajectory of my life. When I was doing Miss Universe, I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't really care about having the most expensive dress or looking perfect in photos and having to prove so much. I really just wanted to meet people and have a genuine connection or real conversations. And look, that didn't really happen there. Like maybe a couple of the girls that I got along with, but I really connected more with the sponsors because they were business owners. And there was kind of this common ground or this interest about like, okay, what are you doing and how did you get there and like what made you choose this industry? And there were some really cool stories that I was able to unpack. And there was one guy that I met, he basically needed someone who could work for him as a contractor, flexible hours, and the job was to put protective film on luxury watches. And so I was the perfect person because my whole life had just been turned upside down. I had nothing else to do. At that stage, I was actually building out a course to then launch, which was my first introduction into like coaching and online courses and things like that for the beauty industry. But I was still needing to bring in income to pay off the payment plan for that. And I was doing a couple lash clients from home, but I was hating every moment of it because my spine, my neck, my back, my arms, I was just in so much pain. My body could not physically handle it. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to be in this much pain to do this and it's going to take me this long, surely there's something that I can do to make more money than this. And that was putting the protective film on the luxury watches because it's more or less the same skill set, right? You're going to use tweezers, you're going to pick something up and then you're going to apply it. And so going from doing lashes for like, anywhere from $120 to like $200 to then being able to perform a service in the same amount of time but charge $500 to $1,000, it was so much more attractive. And I didn't have to work nowhere near as much. I didn't have to burn out. I didn't have to be in as much pain. And I could do less work but make more money. And what I had no idea would actually come from doing the watches is not just putting protective film on, $50,000, $500,000. I've even put protective film on a watch worth $6.5 million, only one of 150 in the world, a Tiffany & Co. / Nautilus collab, which is insane. But what happens is you don't just provide a service. And when I started doing these watches for clients, the thought crossed my mind of how do these people afford these watches and how do they get to the level of wealth and success that they're currently at? Because this is not just like, a $500 watch. Like this is $500,000. This is the cost of a house deposit or someone's house, prior to all the house prices rising. But do you know what I mean? Like, to wear that on your wrist, I was just absolutely mind blown by the amount of wealth that some of these people had, because I came from the country. Everyone's a teacher or a nurse or a small business owner, and they don't really have anything luxury. You know, they're quite bogan. They're quite dero, to be fair, sometimes. And you just don't see that kind of level of money. You always think, okay, well, 60, 70 grand a year, that's what you get paid. But then you're meeting these people who are dropping more than triple someone's annual salary on one item. And you think, how the hell are you doing that? And when I started doing watches for different people, I would make an effort to get to know them. And I think this comes down to communication. Like, if you take the time to ask people good quality questions and stay curious and actively listen, they will start to have more time for you, because they realize that you're not using them. They realize that you have a genuine interest, and it does feed their ego a bit, to be fair. And so I started doing watches, but then sometimes they would actually sit in and talk to me. I would try to go to their office, so I wasn't doing it at home, so that I could talk to them. And I would just ask them about, you know, what are they investing in, and what are their plans for the year, and, you know, what are some of the biggest mistakes and lessons that they've learned. And that's where it kind of started. Like, I was just doing one-on-one different watch clients. And then when I learned enough about their story, they would get curious about mine, and they would ask questions, and I'd explain where I come from and what I wanted to do, but how I was like, I'm not really sure where I want to go in life. Like, if you could go back and give your 20-year-old self a piece of advice, what would you say? And that was like the number one question I would ask every single one of them, so that I could go, okay, well, what can I learn from their years of experience that may help me in my future? And so over the course of a year, I did over 100 watches for different clients, and the conversations and the relationships that I built, some of them were really great, and I became closer with certain clients, and I would do multiple watches, and then other ones were kind of like a one-hit wonder. And the ones that I wanted to be around were the ones that could come back to me every 2 to 3 months, because they had so much money. Every 2 to 3 months, they were dropping that much on a watch, you know? And you knew that they had a level of success, because the clients that came for one watch, they'd pretty much saved up their entire life savings, or they'd gotten a loan out, and that was their one watch. But these guys that had multiple ones, you knew that they were doing something right in life. Through the watches, I started getting invited to these events for Patek, for example. And so you've got maybe 20 people max. You've got someone who won Bathurst one year coming in as a guest speaker. You've got people from the news. Like, it's somewhere where you get invited into, but you just feel like you don't belong, or you're like, how the hell did I get here? And so you're talking to different people. And because I'm the only person in the whole of WA that does this, I have a reputation. And so all of a sudden these people are like, oh, you need to meet Sammy. Oh, this is Sammy. Oh, okay, I finally met you. And then they would refer their friends, and it would just become this thing. And through that, then I would start getting invited to more things. And more recently, I just got invited to Porsche to go collect some silver that I bought. But I didn't realize it was like a whole car meetup. So all these business owners and high net worth individuals, like, I'm talking doing 10 to 80, $100 million a year. Like, these guys are insane with the amount of wealth that they're creating. And I was the only female there. So it's not hard to create curiosity when you're just kind of surrounded by all these males. But at the same time, like, I spoke to one guy, and he has 150 laundromats across the whole of Perth. And I was just explaining some of the issues that I've experienced with my own laundry at the units that we live at. And then I was like, yep, here's where we are. This is what we do. These are the ones we have. And he's like, thanks so much for that lead. I really appreciate it. And then there was another guy who just walks in and he goes, do you guys know anyone for tires? I need new tires. And so they're all talking within themselves. And then there's another guy that owns a battery company, primarily doing everything with lithium. And then there's another guy with solar. And then he's just like, I've just bought this much. Can you do this deal for me? And just the way that their minds work and the conversations that they have, they're not like women who go for coffee catch-ups or book club meets and then they just bitch about each other. Like, they are actually going, okay, how can I help you? I need this connection. what's the best deal you can do for me? And I just love being in that energy because I find it so inspiring. Like they're not always like best friends or like up in everyone's personal business, but they're always like, how can I create an opportunity here? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And that's what I love. I love being in that energy. I love seeing it because it's just, I don't know, maybe I've watched too much, Billions and Suits and TV shows, and I'm being like, that's what I want to be in. I don't want to be in a circle of people who they only find excitement talking about other people's lives or things going on. Like business has always been my passion, and finding other people who are equally as passionate about that, like they're psychopaths, they love it. They live and breathe it. And what I've started to notice is from the rooms that I've been in and meeting these people, you start to build a network of, okay, who do I know that's an expert in this? Who do I know who knows someone that can help me out? If I want to go get this, what's the best thing to do? Oh, okay, I'll ask that person. Oh, yep, he's referred me here because they don't know the answer. And one of the biggest issues that I believe we struggle with in the beauty industry is that we don't think outside of our own immediate network a lot of the time. And I've seen it. People have their cards kept close to their chest and, they've been burnt by someone before, or they're scared that if, they put themselves out there or they actually say what they're doing, someone's going to come and sabotage them or try to tear them down or use it against them. And it's a really sad kind of mindset. And yeah, that can happen to anyone. But also, who are you surrounding yourself with and what kind of filters are you putting in to find out if someone is genuine or a high quality friendship? And if you want to expand your network, you can't just do it by going to your business every day and then coming back home, because you have to put yourself outside of your comfort zone in these different situations where you can actually meet people. And so when I look at building relationships and network, I've always been around males. That's been the thing. Like I've always just been around a lot of males, whether it's watches, whether it's cars. And there was a point in time where I went, you know what? I probably need to be around more females because I want high quality female friendships, but I just found that like a lot of them were so bitchy and toxic and nasty that I was like, I just don't have the time. And it's felt like that for a very long time, even growing up. Like I was the only girl on the soccer team. There's just been like my best friend in high school, that was a guy. Like, it was just always, I just didn't want to deal with the drama. And that's why I kind of don't go to all these networking events and things in the beauty industry, funnily enough. I actually prefer to go to business events where there's different business owners and there's a mix of male and female. I think there's a lot of power in pushing yourself outside of what you've always known and where you always are. Like you've got to think bigger. If you want to expand yourself, you've got to put yourself in those different rooms and learn different things from different people. And the other thing is what I notice with where I've gone, like more recently, I've invested, Michelle, who came onto the podcast, she was the millionaire maker and she went from 30K debt to 7 million assets. Like, I was like, I want to be around her. Like, she is doing really cool things. How do I get there? And I met her at a couple of events and we spoke in person. I made an effort to actually like, what are you up to? Like, how is business? Like, just really understanding her as a person. And then we kept in contact and there were like multiple times where she reached out to me and asked, are you ready to work with me? Or, do you want to join my mastermind? Because we had spoken about it. She wasn't just cold messaging me saying join up. Like I said, yeah, I do want to. I'm just not sure I'm in the position where I need to be yet. And I ended up joining. And then this was probably the first group of women where if you said, okay, I want to buy a house, they say, okay, this is the mortgage broker, this is the financial advisor, this is who you need to speak to and what you need to do. And I found that to be really empowering because usually in my life, females were not like that. And it was always the males that were doing it. So that was a really cool network that I was able to put myself in where I was experiencing that. The only reason why I do still to this day find it hard with the women, in complete honesty, is I'm not super woo-woo. I think that there's a lot of woo-woo stuff out there that's just past the point of what I want to be around. And when everything becomes like energetics and quantum leaping and realms of reality and illogical, illusions, I'm like, this is just not what I want. And maybe that's because I've been around all those males and I've seen the success that they've built. And it hasn't come from putting crystals out, and it hasn't come from saging rooms and doing like self-worth meditations. Yes, I do think that, being able to journal and being able to work on your mindset are very powerful tools. But I don't know, something about how these guys create wealth has inspired me more than ever than how the women do it. And it's weird. Like I don't want to feel like I'm saying it's all women or it's all men, but it's just something that I've noticed in the networking groups that I'm surrounding myself with. And also, I've never been attracted to luxury brands. It's not been something that I really value. I value quality time. I value family. I value relationships, deep conversations. I value experiences. So I'm a lot more of an experienced person than a physical object material person. And look, maybe I would rather, if you said to me like, here, you can drop $5,000 on a really nice hotel and have food and massage, I was like, yes. But if it was $5,000 on a handbag, I'd be like, I don't care. But something interesting that I want to talk about is the McLaren effect. And this is what I actually asked one of the guys about when I was at Porsche. I said, with your car, have you found that it's opened up more opportunities for you just by having the car? And he said to me, yes. This car, you always get told, they're depreciating assets. Don't spend money on a sports car. It's not going to be worth it. But the rooms that they unlock and the amount of opportunities and deals that they get to make as a result, because people are starting to notice them that are also in that group, that's what can actually bring more money than any other investment. And I found it really, really interesting. And it makes sense, right? Like your network is your net worth. So, okay, if you now are in this network of people who are all making crazy fuck you money and they're all surrounding each other and they're all bringing each other in on deals, all of a sudden you've just gone from, hey, I'm a business owner just living in my own little world to, ooh, this person wants to help me here. How can I help them? What can be the exchange here? Like, how can we both win? And whenever you're doing any kind of collaboration or pitching or trying to introduce yourself to someone because you want to get into that room, my best piece of advice is to always stay curious and be respectful. Like, actually take the time to get to know them, ask them good quality questions, and not just jump straight to the point of what you want. Like, I feel like what I mean by that is some people will go in and they're like, this is what I want. And they're so abruptly doing that, but they're not actually giving them the time or the respect to do their research or understand, like, what are they trying to achieve, or just genuinely making an effort to get to know someone. Like, yes, everyone's always scheming for opportunities, right? But I feel like if you actually take the time to build a relationship and not expect anything, that's my biggest thing that has got me to where I am today. I haven't expected anything. You don't go in there and you expect them to give you something. You don't go in there and you expect or think that you should be entitled to something. Like, you go in there with no expectations. And that's when you actually find the best opportunities will come, because people feel that you are genuine. You're not trying to be someone that you're not. You're not trying to go and make these big claims. It's just like, you're a valuable asset, but you haven't been deployed yet. And this is where I think the mindset side comes in. You think, okay, I'll have to wait until I'm more successful. I don't belong in these rooms yet. They'll think I'm wasting their time. I don't have anything to offer. And I think the difference is, have you seen those quotes where it's like, a millionaire will never judge you for trying to start a business, or someone who trains at the gym won't judge you for trying to lose weight? It's the same kind of thing. Like, if you're coming into these different circles and these different networks and opportunities, and people can see that you're genuinely trying, you'll gain a lot more respect and support than if you're not trying at all, or if you're trying way too hard. So other than just guys and cars and watches, and then also being in Michelle's circle, there's other things that I've done in my life that have helped me get to where I am. Brooke, she's my one-on-one coach. I have always wanted to work with her one-on-one, but she's never offered it. And I remember thinking, okay, how do I get in front of her? Like, what do I need to do? And I just bought a ticket to one of her VIP days. And I didn't necessarily need to actually learn what she was teaching, but it was like I needed to be in proximity to her. And I remember I actually got her information and then said to her, like, do you offer one-on-one? And then she's like, oh, it's not something that, I was thinking of, but, give me some time and I'll get back to you. And then she actually ended up coming back with one-on-one, and I've been working with her for over a year now, and she's been absolutely incredible. But it was like, to get her attention and to actually be able to get her to do something that she wasn't currently even offering, I had to think outside of the box. Podcast guests, if there's been a certain guest that I want to get on my podcast who I know maybe has a lot more status, maybe has a bigger audience, and might be looking at me going like, who is she, if they don't know who I am. Like, I've taken the time to go through their website, their socials, LinkedIn if they've got it, and do the market research, get clear on what it is that they are passionate about, what they really value and what their mission is. And I will always reach out to them to talk about like, okay, I love what you're doing. I think it's really powerful and there is such a need for it. Or the way that you spoke about this in one of your pieces of content, it really resonated with me because, and then you find that common ground. Is it shared values? Is it a shared mission? Being able to compliment them and give them something that they're like, okay, well, they've actually taken the time to get to know me, and they also do share something in common with me. And then leaving an open-ended question about like, is this something that you may be interested in? Or like, would you be keen to go for coffee? It's actually really overlooked how simple it is to get people in your life to be either your friend or your coach or your mentor or in your network, because we overcomplicate it. Or we don't know how to ask or how to get someone's attention. We're either too abrupt or we never do it at all. And so with the rooms that you want to get into, the people you want to be around, you've got to meet them where they're at. And so the latest room that I am wanting to get into is Forbes. And so what have I done? I've gone onto Forbes. I've gone and applied for a membership. And it was like, it feels really weird at first because you're like, oh, what if I don't fit in? Who am I to be here? I don't know. But then the other part of me is like, I deserve to be here because I'm working for it. And if this is the people I want to surround myself with, I need to get into that room. The thing I want to remind you about is that getting yourself into these rooms and building these networks and connections or friendships and relationships, whether they are in business, in your personal life, it's not about using people. It's not about extracting value, but it is about respect, curiosity, contribution, and shared energy. Like, I never go into a room thinking, what can I get from this person? I always go in thinking, okay, who can I learn from? Who can I support? And who can I genuinely connect with? We often see on social media this glamorization of being self-made and not having any support and doing it all on your own. But let me tell you, the people that I have met who are making crazy amounts of money, they don't do anything on their own. They always have a support system in place. They have a good quality friendship group or circle surrounding them, and they have a big network that they can lean on. And so this episode, I want you to think about, what are the rooms that you are currently in? Friendship circles, business networking, who do you hang out with? Where are you spending the most amount of time? And then to follow up on that, like, who do you want to be around in 12 months' time? Are the current people that you're surrounding yourself with helping you expand and grow and pushing you or bringing in new opportunities and vice versa? Or are they holding you back? Are they keeping you stuck? What do you want out of life? Where do you want to be? And what type of people are living that life? Those are the type of people that you want to be around, because they will inspire you and they will support you, and you will be able to have this mutual value exchange where both of you get to win and you can go on this epic journey of success together. And then lastly, like, what event, what community, what conversation or DM have you been avoiding? Is there someone or something that you want to get involved in, or someone that you want to speak to but you've been holding back? The worst thing that can happen is a no. And the best thing that can happen is a complete change in your entire trajectory. So if you're looking for a sign, this is your sign. Reach out to one person that you admire this week. Buy the ticket, attend the event, send the message. Lead with respect and not entitlement, because opportunities don't knock on your door. They don't come for you when you're not doing anything. They respond to you when you're moving, when you're getting up and doing things. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I'm wishing you all the best with putting yourself out there and getting into those rooms so that you can expand your network and your net worth. I'll see you next week for hopefully an episode in the new podcast studio. Thank you so much. All the best. Bye.
Audience exclusive.